if we define the commercialization of sex as work, would it not then be contrary to the Constitution? Because a worker works. Anyone, I mean, take the dictionary definition of work, which is any activity with a purpose, and in our industrial sort of society, which usually carries a reward. Activity, or I forget what the exact one is, activity or mental activity or physical activity, which covers work. Now, of course, by that definition, bank robbers would also be workers, but they have a situation of victimhood. Does sex and the sex industry may often have victims, but is that because of the criminalization? Would it be lessened if there was decriminalization or partial decriminalization? What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think the extent of the people involved with partial decriminalization would be less than for full decriminalization, because you focused on the demand. So the extent of people who are exploited would be less. Because they're decriminalized, they would be able to access the support from the police, justice system, health, and whatever, because the law would provide that sort of support, ensure that sort of support, and also provide options for exit. In other words, a lot of them have lost out on education, training, things like this, so provide those sort of options.
But you'd still, then you see, the point is you'd still have police who'd be in vice squads. Wouldn't it be better to use that money and put it into training, into assistance, etc.? And that means decriminalization. Because I'm just trying to get my head around this idea of partial decriminalization. I can understand the argument for full criminalization, to call it all a crime. I can actually understand an argument for decriminalizing, provided that all these other things are put in place. I'm just trying to understand, I mean, if we have only partial decriminalization, we're still going to have the police, and we're still going to have perhaps extortion.
But the police wouldn't be focusing on the women. They'd be focusing on those who exploit them.
But isn't that, well, you might have some poor chap who just wants to pay someone to talk to, or just cuddle someone. At that sort of level, it's almost social work.
So, certainly, talking to would be not a crime.
Well, the Immorality Act, as I remember, the way it used to be applied in the old days, if your clothing was in a state of undress. I beg your pardon, yes,
if I can come in, I think the fundamental issue is that with partial criminalization, sex workers would still need to be under surveillance. Stigma would still be applied to the work that they do. Their work would not be recognized as work. And they would be disabled from working in safer ways. So you wouldn't be able to work together. That would be a brothel. You wouldn't be able to advertise, that would be illegal. And in some cases where partial criminalization has been applied, women are always also prevented from communicating, from taxi drivers are criminalized because they're not allowed to transport sex workers
This is
safely.
the internet age. I mean, people use the internet.
But we don't live in that, fully in that age. There are many sex workers who still work in street-based work and work in brothels. So I think we need to take a more realistic view.